actually practice getting up and down off the ground, which is this basic human skill. And we opened our most recent book, Built to Move, with something, our first chapter is called the Sit and Rise Test. You can go to 1,000 websites. You can just type in Sit and Rise Test on the internet, and you can easily find this anywhere. And basically the test, and it was done by a combo of Brazilian and American researchers, and they found that the ability to get up and down off the floor, and I can explain what the test is, was correlated with longevity and overall morbidity and mortality. The way the test works is if you're standing there, you cross your legs from a standing position, and then you slowly lower yourself to the ground until you're sitting in a cross-legged position. And then the hard part comes in where then you're meant to stand back up from that same cross-legged position, ideally with as few points of contact on the floor as possible. And it's graded out of 10. So if you think about, you lower yourself to the ground, and in order to kind of break your fall to the ground, you put a hand down, that's -1. And then in order to get up, you need to put a knee down and a hand down, that's another -2. So you got a 7 out of 10. So anything over an 8 out of 10 is great. So people often, when they do the test, think they have to do it perfectly, but they don't. You can still use a couple points of contact and be fine. The reason that we love this test so much is that it's, for many people, the first time they're getting an insight into how immobile they have become, probably from all the sitting they're doing and then exercising without doing any mobility work. It also can be a giant wake-up call for people to realize that this basic human skill, which is getting up and down off the ground, children do it like 100 times a day. Toddlers do it like 1,000 times a day, getting up and down off the ground. This like real functional human skill is something that we've all lost because our environments are not set up to tax the skill anymore. It also gives you some really good insight into your hip and ankle range of motion, which are kind of our big movers. Lack of hip range of motion is a huge contributor to this horrible scourge of low back pain, of other physical challenges and injuries. So it's something we also want to avoid. And interestingly, in cultures where people sit on the ground, toilet on the ground, sleep on the ground, like Japan, for example, and, India, plenty of other cultures, the fall risk in the elderly is near 0. So that's pretty significant. And on top of that, the amount of orthopedic injuries, joint replacements, low back pain, incidents of low back pain are way less. Getting up and down off the ground is like this basic fundamental human skill that we need to practice and keep doing. And then we need to be able to comfortably sit on the ground. And what I love about sitting on the ground is, number one, it forces you to practice getting up and down off the ground at least twice or once each direction. And number two, it's like a sneaky mobility practice, especially for those of you who know you're never, ever going to actually do anything formal to mobilize your body. You maybe have decided you're never going to get out a foam roller or lacrosse ball or do anything kind of formal to work on your body. But you can get so much benefit, especially when it comes to your hip mobility, by just sitting on the floor. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. When I sit on the floor, I sit cross-legged, I kneel for a little while, I sit 90-90, kind of like a hurdler, long sit with my feet out in front of me. Sometimes I'll go into the splits. But I mean, people are shocked when they sit on the floor for 30 minutes a day and sort of change positions and work on this position, how much better and less stiff their overall body feels. How much better they feel when they go into the gym, how much better they feel walking and doing the sports they love and playing pickleball. If there's someone who suffered from low back pain, we've seen lots of people who have real improvement in low back pain. And here's the reason I think it's so awesome is that everybody has time to do it, because you can do it while you're doing something else I know you're doing, which is watching TV. I don't know, again, the UK data. In America, we're watching 3 hours a day of television. And this is everybody, by the way. There's always going to be these people who are like, oh no, not me. But like, everybody's watching TV and they're doing a lot of it. So what we do in our household is, if we're watching a show, like for at least 30 minutes of it or an hour, like we sit on the floor in front of our couch on the ground and we just noodle around in a floor sitting position. And it's like, we're already watching TV. So nobody has an excuse. And the other time that I do it, as I mentioned this earlier, is if I'm working at home more often than I'm at my office. But if I am lucky enough to be working at home, I will spend part of my workday with my computer on my coffee table and sitting on the ground working that way. So I figure out different ways to incorporate in floor sitting. So yes, Total movement does matter, but I think people would be surprised how good they felt if they actually also added in some floor sitting, which everybody has time to be doing.